Okay, the other one is Kiwi Frank. Okay, we talked about this last week as well. We're in right now with like a tiny bit of profits. What I like about this, right, from the higher time frame perspective, of course, from the daily time frame, we talk about this in detail, why we executed this, right? So everything is still intact. Okay, so you can see over here, this is still 1, 2, 3. We are this key zone here. How price reacted to it was a diagonal. So all this adds up to it, right? Okay, and of course on the 4-hour, we do see that first impulse push. Okay, and we are expecting this kind of a bigger flat correction. Therefore, we look to execute from there. That was the reason why we get it. Okay, and everything is still intact as of now. Okay, and what I like about this is, of course, you can even see on a 1-hour time frame how this high was broken. It was broken pretty much looking like a corrective pattern. Okay, now the question here is, can this still push back up one more time before the drop? For sure, definitely, because again, if you take a look at this diagonal here, usually we say expect 3 times, right? Okay, why? Again, because a diagonal have 5-wave internal. For a 5-wave internal to develop, usually there's a 3 touch. Okay, so that's how we simplify things for you guys to understand. Okay, so right now we do have only this 2 here. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if this bounce back up first before that drop. Okay, so but I wouldn't shift my stops now because again, this is too small a room. Okay, we're not gonna be surprised if it comes back up here, but okay, it need not go there, right? It can just drop from here. Okay, so I would still leave this trade here, and let it run. Okay, because the downside here is definitely big, right? So you can see this is just the initial one, and of course we do expect a much bigger drop. Okay, so nothing much on this. We're gonna leave it and see how price develop for today. Kiwi Frank, we talk about that, and I shared that I don't really like how price is moving, and I suggested to get out. Okay, so I got out at like, again, a couple of pips in profit, but I wouldn't even call that a profit, right? It's a break-even trade, but price right now is moving. Okay, but why I didn't like it, okay, because I wanted yesterday's session during US or even London to come down strong, but it didn't really do that. Okay, so to me, I wouldn't want to hold on to this position for now. So this morning we do see that small dip, right? That's about like 20 plus to 30 pips pip. So of course, okay, I'm not gonna chase into it. Will I feel bad? No, not really, because again, I know opportunities are always there. We're gonna talk about some of them today. So this one here, if you're still in, just shift your stops to break even, protect your capital, protect this trade. Okay, if you're out, then just let it go. Okay, New Zealand franc is printing very nice setup over here, right? That day I mentioned that this is not giving what we want. I suggested to exit first. Okay, it came down, but overall it's still in a correction. Okay, so I'm interested to look for a sell. Okay, again on the daily you can see where we are close to the top. The downside is big. Okay, so definitely the bias here is to look for sell. Okay, so on the 4-hour time frame here, I will put in an entry. Okay, at this low, when it breaks below this level, just to check. Yep. Okay, 625. The stops here, of course, there are 2 ways I can put it. One is I put it here about 60 pips. The other one I put it here, which is about 40 pips. Okay, to me, I would be putting it somewhere around this 6290. Okay, which is 40 pips of stops. For one very simple reason, okay, because if price were to come down and break here, I don't expect it to go back up. If it does, I'm more than happy to exit this trade. Okay, because what I see here is this is an impulse. This is your 1, 2, 3. It should be done. Okay, of course, what you can do is this can develop into a much bigger corrective pattern. Okay, if that happens, by all means, it's fine because we're looking for the breakout. Nothing much that you want to worry about. Okay, the targets, right? I wouldn't say you want to put it here because your risk reward is then is like 1:2 is decent, but it's not something I look out for. Okay, I would aim for that minimum this low. Okay, somewhere around this region, which is 5950. Okay, from a daily scale, okay, that is this low here. Of course, it's not going to happen like overnight, okay? But that's where I would likely aim for if I were to take this trade here, right? So this is how I'm going to put it in. The other potential entry technique, of course, is you look for this 1, 2, 3. Okay, you look for a trade enter here. Okay, in a moment I'll share that with you. Let me put this in first. Okay, so our entry on this based on the breakout is at 625. Okay, the stops is gonna go at 629. Okay, the target here is 595. Okay, this is gonna be one entry technique. Okay, I'm gonna show you the other one. Okay, so this is a breakout technique, right? The other entry technique is what I call retracement technique. Okay, and this is based on wanting to capitalize and capture on the like very high and very top of it. Okay, so this is how it roughly looks like. Okay, let me remove that line. Okay, if I would draw in this, right, this is how it looks like. So if I put in that label, it's gonna be WXY. Okay, it's gonna look like that. Okay, and of course, what will happen here is the entry we are looking at this high, with our stops above it. Okay, so it looks like that. Okay, over here, of course, I can also use a simple target like that to bring this here. Okay, that gives us 1 to 3, but again, I'll just target here, right? Okay, so this is another entry technique. Okay, I'll put this in so that you can reference it as well, right? Now, okay, in a moment, I'll talk about how you can manage these positions, right? This is a sell limit order. Okay, the entry here is gonna go at 6,330. Okay, and of course, the zone here is between 6,350. Okay, so it's about 20 pips of range. The stops is gonna go 6,385. Okay, target is the same, right? So now that you have two positions of a similar pair, one is a breakout, one is a retracement trade, right? You can actually put in both orders, okay? Because either one of it is gonna trigger. Okay, one is a breakout here, right? One is an entry here. So the idea here is, of course, if this were to go up like that, okay, you will be involved in this trade. You won't be involved in this trade, okay? So one of it will be running, okay? Now, if this trade is here already and it starts to come down, you have that time to remove this order, okay? Or even if you want to put that in, it's fine, okay? We can potentially look at that as a potential scale in if that happens. But the idea here is either one of these trades is going to enter and you will not likely get in both at the same time, okay? So you'll be able to have time to manage the other pending order, right? So I personally will put in both. Okay, I'll put in two kind of like two pending orders. Okay, one is a sell limit, one is a sell stop, and depending which one gets involved, I would cancel the other first and then monitor onto it. Okay, so this is something for you to consider, right? So we have two orders here on the New Zealand franc. The only one that we want to talk a little bit about in terms of our active trade is the New Zealand Swiss franc. Okay, the sell limit order I'm in. Okay, so I think most of you are perhaps also in as well, right? Okay, it's running now with just that tiny bit of profits, but it's a good reaction, okay? Because what we anticipate over here again is a very simple 1, 2, 3. Okay, in terms of Elliott wave, that's your corrective structure. And we do see kind of reaction around that Fibonacci expectation as well. And we are seeing potential completion of impulse correction. And we do anticipate this to come down fast, okay? Which means by today, this trade should give us the opportunity to shift our stops to break even. If not, then unlikely we're going to see this trade go. Okay, so what we want to see today is number one, if this comes down impulsively by London session, that will be fantastic. We're going to shift our stops to break even. Okay, if it doesn't and it just starts to form, you know, this corrective pattern, it's still fine if it does like that. okay, because this just means that it's also a corrective reversal pattern. It can come up perhaps towards 6350, and then from there it starts to drop. That's still perfectly fine. Okay, what we do not want, okay, I repeat, right? What we do not want is for this to form a corrective pattern that looks like that. Okay, if it does, we'll exit the trade with whatever we have, and we'll leave it aside and see how it goes from there. Okay, but the only thing we do not want is, of course, this corrective pattern to happen. Okay, it just means that this is likely going to continue to the upside, and we would like to exit that trade first. Okay, and of course, what can happen is this can, of course, impulsively go up like that. That's definitely what we do not want to see as well. Okay, so nothing much to manage as of now. I wouldn't suggest to shift our stops to break even. It's really too tight. It's just about 10 pips. You know, that 10 pips room, if you move it to break even now, it can just easily touch up and then go down, and then you miss out on that. Okay, so for me, I'll leave this trade running.